Alright, guys, sorry about the delay. We were able to figure out the stuff with the game audio, but we lost the bottom screen. They'll be getting that fixed up while we're waiting. But let's reintroduce ourselves. I am Kenta Kurodani, or Kenta Kazami rather. Sorry, that's my old name. But and then this is Dan, who's going to be running Metroid Prime Hunters all items. Now, this is not 100%. Just to be clear, 100% would include all scans as well. But he will be getting all the items. And without further ado, I think that they're going to want us to get going since we're running a little behind. Let me just double check.
Yes.
All right, then I'll give you a countdown real quick, Dan.
Yes.
Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
There is probably a big delay between what I'm doing and.
Nope. Yeah, there's pretty much no lag on your stream.
Oh, great. So the run
All
started?
right. Yep. So our first step, we're going to be going to the Celestial Archives. We are going to be accomplishing a lot in this first trip. We are going to be going and getting the Volt Driver early. We're going to be doing some clips so we can do that. Then we are going to have our first Hunter fight. We're going to have our first boss fight, and we're going to accomplish a good portion of the stuff that we would normally do on the second intended trip here as well during the escape from the first boss fight. Some quick little important things to note are that he can scan things from a distance as long as he starts the scan right next to them. He's going to be spending a lot of time in the Morph Ball.
What
was that?
No, sorry, I had a little issue. I'm back.
Alright. So he's going to be spending a lot of time in the Morph Ball because movement is generally faster through there. Unlike a lot of Metroid games, you don't really get any movement upgrades in Hunters. You already start with the double jump and the boost ball and the bombs and all that. Now, one less common movement technique that you're going to see throughout the run is going to be, as I mentioned earlier, the first time we were going to introduce ourselves, we had the, you have missiles that act more like missiles or like rockets in a traditional first-person shooter, where you can do things like rocket jumping or using the explosions of that to clip into different things. Right now, he is trying to do what is called a dip clip. He is trying to use the speed from getting this, use the speed from falling to unmorph and clip into the ground a little bit. This will let him get out of bounds. He's going to be trying to collect this artifact without triggering a fight in this room.
Troubles.
Because the shield protecting artifacts in this game does not extend underneath them. Can be a little bit inconsistent.
Yeah, I'm having some troubles. Oh, I clipped on the other side.
But yeah, so when he uses the speed from that to get underneath it, and there we go. We got the first artifact. We get to skip the entire fight. Now we are going to be heading over to do our second, even more important dip clip, which is going to let us go get the Volt Driver early. This is a pretty sizable sequence break, which will let us do much of this area early, as well as some additional things in some other areas well before we're intended to. Oh, is the commentary... Looks like the video's behind the commentary? Oh, yeah, that is strange. Alright, and he was able to get that out of bounds clip to do the Volt Driver. The Speed Gaming guys let us know that unfortunately there's apparently not a lot we can do about that. So right now he is navigating in the out of bounds in order to find the Volt Driver and the Universal Ammo expansion that were in this room. And with walls in this game, they actually don't have collision when you're outside of the rooms, which allows you to get back inbounds much easier. Alright, so I'm just going to commentate off the main stream then, so that we can have you guys on the right timing. Alright, so moving along, we are going to head more towards the first boss. You can see another quick rocket jump there. Interesting thing is that you can actually charge your missiles like your beam in this one. Here's our first fight. This is going to be with the Hunter, Dann. The first phase is pretty RNG heavy, so he's just going to be kind of trying to follow him around the room, get some good shots in on him. Then when he reaches the second phase of the fight, he's going to be trying to lead him as close as possible to the shield that's going to open up after the fight is over. And that was the fight with Candid. Now, got a little bit distracted, but what I was saying earlier is that you can charge missiles akin to charging a beam in this game. They'll spend a few more ammo, but it'll let you do a much more damaging shot and get more height off of a missile boost. Now we are going to our first boss fight. There are two main kinds of bosses in this game. There's the Slench and there's the Cretafid. This first one is going to be a Cretafid. They're these kind of tall tower enemies. And he has to shoot their weak points whenever they're blue. Anytime the weak points are red, they can't be damaged. And then he has to go and shoot the core as much as he can whenever he hits all the weak points that are currently active. Having the Volt Driver allows him to speed up this boss fight a fair bit, since the wide size of the charged shot can destroy a lot of those things at once. Alright, and that is the first boss. He is going to be carefully picking up the Octolith, trying to start as close as he can to it, because he's trying to skip a second cutscene. Alright, now he's going to be going and doing a quick out-of-bounds clip, so that he can skip a fighting sequence in the next room. It actually only requires him to jump in a specific spot. So he's going to try and line that up. And gets it on the second try. This avoids the doors locking. Otherwise you have to fight all those enemies in there. Now he's doing that kind of bomb jump there, so he can go and keep working on the rest of the area while he is in the quote-unquote escape sequence. In this room, it's normally a long puzzle. You have to do a lot of different stuff, but you can actually just scan this panel at the end of it, and it will just activate the teleporter immediately, and you don't have to deal with any of the enemy cycles. You don't have to deal with a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to collect another expansion real quick. The universal ammo expansions are used for anything except for missiles. So any of the various secondary weapons that he'll be picking up throughout the game. He's going to be trying to move through this room very quickly to catch a platform cycle up there at the top of the room, if you see all those platforms going towards the middle. And he was able to make it. Great. He'll have to wait for quite a while if that wasn't the case. All items is separate from 100% completion, because he only has to pick up the items. He's not worrying about scan. Alright, so that is the shot coil. That is our second of the hunter weapons in the game. Now he's going to be going some teleporters, picking up.
Hi, I'm back. Sorry, this was a bit noisy there.
No problem.
To turn off my mic. So yeah, I kinda missed the last phase of the boss. I thought there's still a dot left. And I didn't charge my shot quick enough, so I had to do it in 4 phases instead of 3. That was a bit unfortunate.
These things happen. So it's going to be the next artifact picked up. Now, one thing to note to let you know about Metroid Prime Hunters compared to other Metroid games is that, for example, like in Prime 2 and 3, when you would fall into space, you would just take a little bit of damage. It was kind of very video gamey and stuff like that. If he falls in space at all here, he dies. He has to go back to the last checkpoint that the game created, and we'd have to redo the whole section. So it's very, very important that he does not fall down in any of the space sections or sections like that. Alright, he is now going to be taking, for example, right here. If he falls down at all in this section,
so that was smooth.
Okay, so Dan, just keep in mind that I'm doing commentary on the stream stuff, so I'm going to be a fair bit behind you, so I'll probably be mainly reactionary when I'm asking you questions, okay?
I didn't understand. Could you repeat, please? There's a bit of lag.
I am commentating based on speed gaming stuff, because
yeah, I thought there's 40 seconds delay or something.
Yes, so just try not to be too proactive with your commentary. Just let me ask stuff.
Yes. I will try to remember things, so when you reach the point,
Okay.
I'll comment.
Real quick, just to explain how he did that, you're normally not supposed to be able to use the teleporters back to the landing site during an escape sequence, because they want you to have to go through whatever battles they have set up for you. However, that only applies one teleporters you haven't activated, and two the closest teleporter to the boss. So there are two teleports back to the landing site on each planet, and he was while going through the rest of the area, he got over to the secondary teleporter back to the landing site, and so he was able to use that. That was still active time. So this is Alanos. This is the second planet. It's comparable to like a Chozo Ruins kind of area. The first big thing that he's going to be doing here when he enters this Morphball maze, he's going to go to a certain segment and he's going to use a bomb jump to clip right through the ceiling there and just grab that artifact. He skips a fair section of the maze. He's going to be skipping the first fight with one of the other hunters, Spire, since he has the early Volt Driver. He can just go through these. Going to be heading towards the first artifact for this planet. Alright, so did the quick little fight. Spire left, he's able to go get that artifact.
Keep the first. If the Volt Driver, I could just shoot the yellow force field and actually triggers the first fire.
So he actually fires a charged missile there while, like, at the start of the cutscene, and it actually will hit Spire, and then he's trying to pull him into the corner and just use bombs to get rid of him.
First person camera in this game, you can usually shoot from it. That's weird. Usually you don't have control, so you can't. But I will showcase just use that camera to shoot. During one of the sledge fight, actually.
Alright, so now we're going to be heading towards our first sledge. He's just activating that teleporter for later. The slunches are these big orb guys. The way that this boss fight works is they'll put out tentacles into the wall, and you have to destroy all those tentacles, and that will get the slunch. It'll knock down the slunch's force field. It's shooting at you the whole time, and now once the force field comes down, it'll start moving around the room, and he has to shoot its weak point for massive damage.
I can completely make it like
You're breaking up a little bit, Dan.
completely through the roof.
Alright, so that's going to be the second boss fight. He's skipping some cutscenes by positioning himself in a certain spot to pick up the Octolith like the moment it spawned. Alright, now he is going to be getting out of Alanos. There are different glitches that work in different versions of Hunters. He's going to be taking advantage of one that only works in this version. He's going out and reloading the next room, and then immediately going back and loading this room again, which will allow him to use the teleporter that he's not supposed to be allowed to use.
Which is weird, actually.
Lets him go right back to the landing site.
And that actually skipped the Weevil fight, so I will never encounter Weevil.
All right, so now we're going to be going to the ice planet Arctera. This is going to be
The glitch
a
ride.
section with. This is a section where you're going to see missile clips really start to get used a lot. Where he's going to use the knockback from hitting a missile into a surface to push himself out of bounds in order to skip some force fields, skip some triggers.
The entire Noxus fight actually skipped. When I skip a hunter completely, I won't ever encounter it anymore later in the game. So it might be useful to actually skip the most dangerous one. Maybe not in this category because I have a lot of health and everything. But if we're going to run like low percent or something.
But yeah, so you saw
It
the
could
first
help.
two missile clips there. That's the third one there. Now here he is, alright, very smooth. He, kind of just clips through the terrain there. There's this bit of a seam that he's able to just jump through in order to get past that force field. He's going to use a double bomb jump here, which is going to skip a pretty large section. Allows him to grab this missile expansion and then do the back end of the section. Alright, now he's going to pick up the Judicator. He is going to do a quick missile jump here to get it. Just skips a little bit of this room. First try, very nice.
Our turret is going smoothly.
Those little guys that move around on those kinds of doors can be a bit of a pain sometimes because they move randomly. Now, interestingly, he's actually not going to fight the boss here yet, even though he will pick up all 3 artifacts. He's going to do both bosses on his next trip to Arctera.
I won't do both bosses, but I will actually use the
there's a
escape
third trip? I'm
sequence
sorry.
to go further. Yeah, like I could do both bosses, but at this point it's still a bit slower than the normal method and really tougher because you have to pull up some other out of bounds.
Gotcha.
So
You think that'll be
maybe
something that eventually gets added to the route then?
yes, maybe that would be great because to save time probably, not having to go back twice to the ship. What's really bad actually if you try to skip both bosses is that both sequence escape are overlapping and there is a trigger in the landing site when you go back that triggers 3 guardians. And that fight can be skipped if you if you just go back of the first sequence the first time.
Gotcha. So he's just going to take that teleporter and head back to the landing site and leave the boss alone for now. We're going to head back to Alanos now that we've got the Judicator.
So the point is to get the Imperialist, the red sniper, as soon as possible in the run. Because once I have it, I can just one-shot every Guardian. And that actually helps a bit with the randomness of those encounters.
Yeah, whenever Guardians spawn, they run around the room pretty much randomly, and you just gotta hope for good RNG. Guardians are... I don't think we have actually seen them yet. We have, but not for very long. They're the little two-legged, kind of cone head looking guys.
Oh yeah, we saw to destroy one of them.
So do a quick missile jump there, help get over the big gap.
Yeah, I was lucky. I could have an encounter or 2 maybe. Like worst case scenario is a hunter and a guardian. And with the lag and all the enemies, so it's really, really tough to deal.
that's another thing to mention is that there are some rooms where you do just randomly have a chance of encountering a Guardian, which is unfortunate. Alright, so he's able to just go, rather than worrying about these platform cycles, he's just going to boost right through the lava and use some careful bomb jumps to save a lot of time. Now he's got some Guardians that he's got to kill. He was able to get the strat for the first one. He uses a charged Judicator shot and then a single shot. The other ones weren't quite as cooperative, but he was able to get them before they got too far away. Now he's going to be using a missile clip to get into a force field because he's bombing up backwards into this room.
I had some real trouble doing it. The setup for that clip is kind of precise. If my camera is shaking, I can't get it consistently, so I have to aim on the really edge of that small rock on the floor.
All right.
Yeah. I need to pick some health.
Yeah, missile clips. Anything with like shoving yourself out of bounds can be pretty unreliable at times.
Like this one is kind of tricky. For a long time we used Magmol because somehow it worked better. But if you want Magmol, you have to go back there actually. So using a missile skips some backtracking.
Alright. Now, very shortly, we're going to be going to fight one of our first mini-bosses, the Fire Spawn. An interesting thing about the shot coil is that the longer it is on an enemy, even before the enemy can take damage, the greater damage it will do. So he starts firing way before the vulnerability period of the boss starts, so that he can have the shot coil at the highest amount of damage possible by the time the boss is vulnerable to it. He's going to pick up the Magmol. It's going to be our fourth of the weapons. The Magmol and the Battle Hammer are both, they fire kind of in an arc rather than being like straightforward projectiles like the Power Beam or the Volt Driver or like the kind of proximity-based one of the Shot Coil. Also, you get to see Samus just jumping around having some fun in the cutscene. All right, and he's heading back
the
to the
jumping
landing
sequence
site.
went pretty well. I managed to scan the panel on the first try, which is really precise. Usually it takes 2 to 3 jumps sometimes.
Yeah, that might not have looked too weird, but that was unintentional. He was scanning that thing from the wrong side. That's why Samus was like jumping around and having some fun during the cutscene. So we're going to be heading back for our second arc, Terra. We are going to go first and fight the boss. And then we are going to go and pick up a universal ammo expansion right after we fight this boss. An interesting thing about that I wanted to explain is actually that there's a puzzle that he's supposed to solve, but beating this boss changes the room state so that it assumes that he's already solved the puzzle.
That's nicely explained. That's exactly what's going on. What will be going on.
Alright, so now we have got our second Slench fight. You can see the health of the various tentacles when they're in the wall, based on the amount of like lines around its around the point that each of them attach to.
The last phase requires 4 shots per tentacle instead of 3.
Yeah. Whatever the reason was, They at least did a pretty good job of like trying to do the most they could with these limited bosses. We're not really sure why they decided to limit themselves the way they did in terms of just reusing the same bosses, but they at least tried to do what they could to differentiate each of them with like different elemental vulnerabilities, different like movement patterns, things like that. And
at least you're well prepared to fight the last version of the boss.
Mhm.
Once you
Yeah,
killed
and
it 3
then
times.
you saw it look a little bit like he was just kind of not shooting the boss. That was because he wanted to be in the perfect position to pick up the Octolith as soon as it spawns, like I mentioned on the last lunch boss. Now, we have started an escape sequence, but we are not going to.
Okay.
We're not going to be actually leaving the planet right now. We've got some other stuff we want to take care of first. Alright, so now we are going to be going back into the central room that we did a lot of clips in before. However, we're going to be doing a clip that looks the same as the previous one, but we are changing the setup slightly to load a different section of the room to skip the trace fight. And very nice. First try.
Yeah. That jump is really precise.
Like I definitely have seen him be stuck on that for a fair amount of time before because it can be a very inconsistent setup.
Yeah, like you have to move forward a bit after the jump, and it can be tricky.
Alright, I didn't mention these earlier, by the way, but these enemies are called quadroids. They're like this game's closest equivalent to a Metroid. They will latch onto your face and you'll have to bomb them off if that happens. Now we have our second spawn boss, the ice spawn. Uh-oh.
I got some troubles with that one.
he
spawned really close
he
to
actually
me,
froze you.
He spawned really close. Sometimes he's really far.
And then he's going to pick up the Imperialist. As he mentioned earlier, this is pretty much the most important of the hunter weapons that he finds. This allows him to kill Guardians in one shot as long as he gets a headshot, which allows him to minimize their RNG.
So usually what happens, if you want to manipulate a bit the RNG of Guardians, if you stand still, they will come close and don't move anymore. So that helps to just deal a fairly easy headshot after a couple of seconds. The other important thing with Imperialist, it helps treat down the mostly for the Silux fights here. Because that the hunter really jumps everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Now, an interesting thing that you guys might have noticed is that like a lot of the enemies are using the same weapons that he is, and they even have the same effects. Like they'll freeze him if they have Adjudicator. They will shock him if they've got like a shock coil, stuff like that. Especially if they have a Volt Driver, that can really mess him up because they will give him some really heavy like screen fuzz and screen like jitters.
So it's a bit like in the Pokemon series, like there are weakness and resistance between different weapons. At least that works until you get the Imperialist and you can just shred through everything using headshots.
Mm-hmm.
Like some Guardians actually use some specific weapons and you have to counter them. Like if they use the Magmor, the fire one, you have to use the ice one. And that kind of stuff. But as long as you have the sniper, it's okay. You can just deal headshots.
So he's doing a quick little scanning thing here.
I missed the first gun. I pressed too fast on the... Is the bottom screen back or not?
Yes, it's been back.
Okay. So I have to press OK once something is scanned on the lower screen, and I accidentally pressed the scan, so it's turned off the scan because it's just right next to it.
These things happen.
Touchscreen control are okay, but there's too much things going on there. Like I have to select my weapon on the bottom screen, I have to select the move ball, I have to speed boost there and use the scan.
Yeah, so there you see the first thing he was talking about with manipulating the Guardians. He stands still so they stop running around the room and will just line up so he can shoot him in the face. We're going back into the Morph Ball maze. And keep in mind, this whole time, he has been supposed to be leaving the planet. Like, that timer down there is not for show. If it did hit 0, there's no like reason to worry about it hitting 0. He's got plenty of leeway. But if it did hit 0, he would die.
I could actually grab the third artifact before heading to the boss. But like, it's not worth risking it, so...
And once again, by the way, he was using the thing I mentioned earlier, where if you use the teleporter that's further away from the boss, it does not lock that teleporter down because you're not really supposed to be using it.
As long as it's not activated before. Like, I had to scan it first. If I just scanned before the escape sequence, I couldn't use it.
So now we are entering the Vesper Defense Outpost. This is going to be the scariest section of the run. We are going to be doing only one visit to this entire station. There are 2 bosses that he's going to be fighting. He's going to be having to do a bunch of the station with an escape timer running, and then activate a different timer to reset that one. So what'll happen is once he gets the escape timer activated, if you activate any other timer, it will overwrite that timer and cancel the escape. So right now...
But you have to keep in mind that the game is still in that escape state. Like if there is a wall added during an escape sequence, it will stay there. So I will have some trouble dealing with her.
So he'll have to do some clips and stuff like that. Speaking of clips, there is a missile clip to get the battle hammer faster. I've never been sure what that crazy like brain goop looking thing is supposed to be. That's just floating in that room.
You can scan it. It's the central cortex of the station, something like that. Like the.
It's seen better days.
Probably. That'd be kinda cool with all that floating ice around. There is some nice lore actually about this station.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the lore in Hunters is pretty solid. I've beaten the game in the past.
Oh,
he's
that's great.
Activating some stuff for later right now. Now he's going to go back and fight Psylux.
No, get it.
Alright, so he's going to be just trying to headshot Psylux, then run into him with the speed booster because it'll do a lot of damage. Oh, missile clip for the artifact first, alright. Right.
I had some troubles, but I got it. It's nice. I still
plenty. You said that one is frame perfect, right?
Yeah, you have to like move me there to the right to get inside. I actually missed the mini boss there. I could have one cycled it. No. Yes, great. You will see the Stylex fight. It's a bit the cutscene is a bit glitched, which is nice. I spent a bit too much time on the second phase.
Mm-hmm.
But it went well, so this is a decent fight.
Yeah, that first phase went down very quickly. And a fun fact about the fight is that if he kills Silex fast enough, the Delano 07, his gunship will never even come in.
Like you could see it come in and I think come back already. If the fight is over for you.
Yeah, it looks like it definitely looks like it's about to just come crashing in.
It just doesn't know what it's doing. Like, yes, no, I have to go back. Ah.
I must return to my people.
Because it was a bit slow, I didn't hit him enough.
Right,
Actually, the shock coil, when it's used by Celix, is draining HP and is healing himself. That's why this fight is a real pain. It's because he's just jumping everywhere and draining your HP and healing himself.
Yeah, but that's why you just try to get him down as quickly as possible.
Yes, it's because, and that's why I must have the sniper to get there. And because there's a red door right now. But
Alright, so now he's going to pick up the final artifact, and then go and fight the boss. Or the first boss for his... Like I said, he will be doing both, bosses in one trip to Vesper. One of the interesting things about the lore in this game is that it's one of the few Metroid games that has nothing to do with the Chozo. Everything you see here, like the ruins on Alanos and stuff like that, are the remains of a different civilization known as the Olympics.
But the lore is really close to what Chozo were. Like, they were really advanced in technology, in science, and everything. And just one day they got ripped off.
Yeah, a big old creature named Goria comes around. He's the final boss. He's using the Magmaul here to just destroy as many of the weak points at once as possible.
Yeah, because there's a white hitbox. There's a lot of spread to the shot, so I can hit several targets at once.
And again, you see what I was talking about earlier with the shock coil, like, even using it while whatever is inactive is still worth it because it increases the amount of damage it'll be doing over time. Plus, it just doesn't even use ammo that fast, so it's not too big of a deal. Like, you don't need to be too scared of like running out of ammo.
Yeah, it's by far one of the best weapons if you compare ratio damage to ammo. But it can really be used for any moving enemies. Like, it just won't make it.
He was trolling you a little bit with some of these.
Yes, that phase actually completely RNG. Like, usually there are 3 levels on this boss. Like, you see the dots are at 3 different heights, and they all switch colors at the same time. But this phase is completely random, so each dot switch color at a random point. Now you have to kind of deal with it. Sometimes you just miss one because you.
All right. So the developers want him to leave, but Dan's not really interested in that. So we're going to be doing a missile clip to go right past a force field that they put up in order to make him leave the station. And if you notice, this is one of the less generous escape timers, so he does want to make sure he really stays on top of his movement so he can get over to the next section to cancel it with the puzzle timer.
I'm going to use a really safer strat, as I usually do. This place is pretty much the biggest run killer, for me at least.
Yeah, you see there's this force field in the door. And he does a clip where he jumps over it and gets right on through.
I have to jump pretty far, high, so I have to jump on the top of the door first, and from there I can jump over it.
Oh, are you going to do the puzzle first?
I'm going to cancel the timer first.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Normally you would do those clips down there first, right?
Yes, it doesn't really matter. Like here I'm just trying to set up a safe spot, a checkpoint. because I need one. Just in case. Not to waste like 5 minutes if I die. And if I get this clip.
Yep, see, so now the escape timer is cancelled. So now he is safe to continue on without having to worry about needing to leave the planet. Now he's going to be doing yet another different kind of clip here. He's going to be, when Samus morphs, it shifts her hurt box around a little bit. And so he's trying to use that shifting to get into the wall. Unfortunately, he's being trolled a little bit by
Yes, I've been trolled a lot.
enemy on the other side of the room. There we go.
So first I'm setting up a checkpoint because the clip is really tough.
Yeah, he's just loading the next room to set up the checkpoint.
Because when there's a timer going on, I can't. I think I was too low. Ah, yeah, I failed it. I got it, but didn't jump far enough.
Alright, so now he got sick of the enemy, so he decided he was just going to kill both spawn points this time. So this is a pretty tricky clip. Like it's a pretty easy setup to get out of bounds. However, it's a very, very precise jump to actually get underneath it. So with these rooms, there's kind of these all the rooms are rectangles in terms of like they're out of bounds.
Some of them, but like the bigger one, I usually create it on the major rectangle or square, so it extends a bit out of bound.
Mm-hmm. And this, by the way, that is why he set up that checkpoint. Because if you fail to jump back in bounds correctly, Samus will just die. And so he only loses like a few seconds as opposed to having to go back to like the start of the area.
Ah! I'm glad I created this checkpoint.
So what he's doing, by the way, is he's actually jumping off the collision of the level and jumping back up underneath it to get inside underneath the shield and pop back in bounds.
I'm actually letting myself like glide on the edge, like just fall from it.
Mm-hmm. And then jumping back up through it. But if he doesn't get high enough or something like that, then he will die. Which is why he wanted to set up that checkpoint. In an actual run, this would be one of the easiest places to lose a run, because he wouldn't go for that checkpoint setup.
This is really bad.
But he wanted to do that just for marathon safety's sake.
I'm glad I did. I'm jumping too late, that's my problem.
Oh yeah, I see someone mentioning the controls. Just to explain, he is using the touchscreen controls. One of the main reasons that he's using that, outside of being more precise with aiming, is that boosting with the touchscreen is actually more efficient than boosting with the R button. I just learned about that just before the run. Dan was explaining it to me.
Oh, I have some troubles. I might just skip that, I don't know.
This is one of the hardest clips in the game.
I just can't get a consistent setup for this clip. Like, I tried many things, but there is nothing to set up on. Like, there's no collision on this side, so you can just move against something. You can see the floor as well, so... I think I got it. Finally.
Right.
Oh, that was... I will see it.
Make sure you're not commentating too far ahead.
Yes. You can already see me failed it a couple of times. Something else with the touchscreen control is actually you can control the morph ball. Like you can speed boost, but you can as well move using the touchscreen only. So when there are some really precise movements, like you could see in the ice maze, I had to do double bomb jumps through a tiny gap. I can use the touchscreen to actually like move so slightly with the morph ball.
Congrats on getting the clip.
Yeah.
Hashtag first try.
So yeah, the point of the clip was to skip the Guardian fights and some more backtracking around this room.
Yeah, because now by doing those artifacts out of order, the door doesn't lock. All right, he's gonna be doing another little time segment real quick. It's just gonna be a platforming segment though. Nothing too crazy.
You might actually be able to skip this at some point.
How's that?
This countdown. Like there are a couple of ideas to get around the countdown and to grab the artifact sooner. Trying to put this together.
You're gonna grab a quick missile pack.
I think I forgot a missile pack somewhere in the beginning.
Uh-oh.
So it's either Alinos or Celestial Archives.
Thankfully, we are not done on either planet.
Yes.
I think it's the one in the landing site on Alanos.
Yes, I didn't pick it. I was not quite sure.
By the way, you see him doing an unmorph here. He'll actually, if he times it correctly with the unmorph coming up after the double bomb jump, he'll gain even more height.
Like just so slightly, but it helps. I could as well just use a boost on the very top and just try to get around that edge. But this strat is usually easier. I used it previously at some point.
All right. Now we are going to go and kill the other boss. This is going to be if anyone has to go to the bathroom or like grab some food, grab a drink. This is probably the best time to do that because unfortunately,
this boss fight is like 5 minutes. No, maybe not so much.
Every time that he knocks this slench off the ceiling, he's just gonna roll around on the ground for like 30 seconds, and there's not really anything you can do about it.
I'm trying to showcase some stuff during this sequence.
Oh, you broke the camera. Wait, what?
Yeah, I tried to shoot myself.
What?
But I didn't manage to. Like, I think the crosshair might have gone out of bounds somewhere.
You just like what makes that happen? How did you get stuck like that?
I'm not stuck actually. I'm just against the door, and there is a locked camera in Morph Ball in this room. Like, anyway, if you just go into Morph Ball, the camera will just switch to that specific point. And if you're close enough to the door, somehow this happens.
That's amazing.
So I'm not stuck. I'm just messing there with the visor. As that's what I was explaining earlier on, is that when a cutscene triggers, the camera is usually warped somewhere in the level, and if at this point you're loading a charged missile or charged shot, anything, it will be released, but from this specific location. So
that is fantastic.
I couldn't actually use it otherwise than the Spire fight, but maybe something could be done. Like it's not like there's a ton of stuff to destroy using the the missiles or that kind of stuff, but maybe one day something else will be.
No, that's definitely pretty great. But yeah, it's unfortunate that the developers decided to have such a long, invulnerable phase, but that's just what they decided to do. At least gives him some time to have some fun with it.
I need to mess a bit more with it. Maybe there's a way to skip it, but like, it's been years.
Oh, you got it on top of the door? Nice.
Yes, I was trying that for quite some times. It's really tricky, because you have to do a double bomb jump and some precise boosting midair.
Well, I can definitely tell that you've done this boss fight a lot.
Uh,
And there you see him again, waiting to kill it until he knows that he'll be able to reach the optimal position to pick up the Octolith.
yeah, I kinda missed it. I shouldn't have triggered this charge attack. I could have avoided that if I waited a bit longer. Oh, it was alright. Like, there is no RNG with this boss, there is nothing, like, you just wait. That's the most painful part, I think.
Alright,
Can't
so
really do
now,
anything.
this is one of the most straightforward escapes that we'll do in the run. We're actually just gonna leave. But it's still in the state from the first escape that he tried to do, so he's gonna have to clip back past this door. He's pausing here because the game will continue to load even if he's paused, and it allows him to maintain his position and be in the perfect spot to get past the force field.
So yeah, I have to be as close as possible to the wall or the door. And the closest spot actually to the wall is not right in front of the door, but on the side. I don't think I need the small missile jump, but it helps. It gives me a bit longer window to do so.
Alright, so we're going to be going back to Arctera. There's a railgun section that he can skip by jumping over the starting trigger. That's going to be really important because it saves a lot of time. This is actually something that even a lot of people figured out casually, though, because there's a pretty wide spot on the sides of the room where
and there's some stuff to collect back there. Underneath, there is an expansion you need to collect, so to grab.
But yeah, he jumps over the trigger, and then he can just kind of just go along the wall. As you can see, there's a lot of enemies there, and he's just like, nah, I don't feel like it. How much time does each of that save?
I don't know. I never really times it, because like it's such an obvious skip that it was used from the very beginning. Like,
understandable.
And nobody never tried it.
So in other versions of this game, this puzzle can be skipped entirely. In this version, he's just going to be taking advantage of sort of seams, though, just to do it a little quicker. If he jumps at the right angle at the 90-degree points where the force fields meet, he can just kind of go right through them.
So yeah, I'm using the first released US version. I don't know how to call it. Every later version is the same, from what I can tell. What we could try. So it was kind of patched. I don't know what happened, but in the later version, if you just jump on the elevator from the beginning, it just works, like for no reason. Here we need to shoot the targets to actually activate it.
Alright, so he picked up the other artifact.
And yeah, what's great about this version is that the elevator actually stays on the bottom. And where on the other version it's just follow a cyclic pattern and just go up and down, so you have to wait for it like for 15 seconds before it comes down again. So in this version it makes sense to rush as fast as possible at the bottom to get back faster.
Now, an interesting thing, if you guys have noticed, that The Guardians are actually programmed as humanoids, even though they look like they're just two-legged things with like no arms and stuff. Because every time they die, they have a silhouette that looks just like a hunter or Samus.
Yeah, they got the same hitbox, but in my opinion, that's the worst hitbox possible for Guardians, because getting a feel for where is their head is really tough. Like we have to aim on the top of that pointy head. And at the same time, if you aim too high, it's too high. Like you just shoot through them without killing them.
Alright, so we're going back and skipping the rail section again, and he's going to quickly grab that universal ammo expansion you see floating right there. And now he's on his way to the second boss of Arctera.
Probably by far one of the trickiest boss of the, because it's moving around and that's really tricky to just hit him. Oh, it's a cycle. This is probably the boss where most people had troubles doing it back in the day when they played the game.
Yeah, it's like this thing has just been a static pillar in the middle of the room until then, and all of a sudden it just starts running around, and you're like,
And the hitbox is really crappy at the top, so the shotgun really helps there.
There's cycles that he's trying to hit with how these things are changing colors and stuff like that. That'll let him save time. If he doesn't get it, then he'll have to wait for the next swap. And it takes longer for them to swap also, like the ones that are firing lasers and stuff like that. It won't swap until the laser finishes. So it can really add a lot of time on if he gets unlucky with which ones shoot. Or if any of them get some stuff off.
So sometimes the damage radius of the magma just don't destroy them. And I have to... it was alright. I missed one, I think, at some point. I missed one cycle. Could have been better.
Yep. So this is going to be another pretty standard escape sequence, just going back to the ship and leaving.
Oh, I tried, but I failed.
You failed to leave?
Failed... wait a sec. I could have grabbed the artifact, the Caliph, right when the cutscene ended. I tried to jump there. I just ended, like, right next to it.
You just missed the cutscene.
Yeah, you can try like on the slange ones. You can just place yourself where it will spawn, but you need to jump there because it's a bit higher on a small pillar.
Gotcha.
I got unlucky there on the escape. I met a hunter.
Yeah, like you were saying, hunters are RNG, and so like world record level runs, you just have to hope that they don't spawn.
Yeah, like when you get the Imperialist, it's okay. Like it's 3 seconds to just deal a headshot and just move on, so it's not so bad. This one is really unusual in this place. And because he already started attacking me with the morph ball, I decided to just boost through him and destroy him this way. Because I missed the headshot. Speed boost, by the way, are really effective damage method.
I mean, if I remember correctly, that's the same. That's actually true for most Prime games. It's just that enemies aren't coded to take damage from it. And then, but you've got stuff like that Ridley exploit in Metroid Prime 1, where they like do like 10,000 damage to his core or whatever.
It's not so broken in this game. At least I couldn't find something so broken. But I can just stuck myself in a corner with a hunter and just repeatedly spam the speed boost over and over.
Alright, you see right there what I was mentioning earlier about like how the Volt Driver enemies will like really mess with your interface. And then so we're back to the Celestial Archives. There's only one artifact left to collect because of all the stuff that we did on the first trip here. This is a game for the Nintendo DS.
I still think it's quite impressive they managed to kind of make the prime game on the DS.
Now, something interesting. He is actually going to be able to use the first teleporter. It's the opposite of the other times when he's gone and used the second teleporter after the first boss fight. He's going, after the upcoming boss fight, he is going to use the first teleporter since the thing is in the escape setup for the second sequence. Yeah, this is gonna be our last of the actual escape sequences that we have to worry about, because the final one will be canceled with the oubliette. This boss is actually the reason why we can't do the Celestial Archives in one go. Because he's only weak to the Battle Hammer, and you can't access the Vesper Defense Outpost that early in the game. So we have to come back at least once.
I have some trouble aiming. This was kind of messy. Yeah, at this point Celestial Archives is really optimized, like there's no backtracking at all, and that's what was the big problem back in the days. You had to come back to get the Vault Driver, and either you had to use the first teleporter at the beginning, or just make your way through the entire stations once again, if you wanted to use it later.
But they've changed a lot the route since then.
Yeah, like the Vault Drivers, skip or early, open so much possibilities. It was the major sequence break we were waiting for.
He's trying to catch some platform cycles. I think he got it though.
Yeah, it's okay. Like, as long as you don't forget to get out of the morph ball before using the teleporter, you should be fine. Because otherwise we just get stuck on the door and have to either get out and shoot the door or bomb it, and you won't make it.
And once again, like, he is being very careful, and like movement through all of these rooms where you're in outer space is very carefully planned, because if he falls a single time, that he gets sent back to whatever his most recent checkpoint was, and that can waste quite a bit of time.
So yes, this section could be done actually as like staying barely all the time in morph ball with some precise boosting.
But it's not.
I don't feel like doing this right now.
It's definitely not marathon safe, and it's arguably barely RTA safe in some ways. And now he's going to use the first teleporter, if he had not activated before, and get on back to the landing site.
So yes, I need to check out if I picked the missiles. Okay,
Yeah, don't forget to grab that. Don't forget to grab that.
So yeah, tell me to
the
grab
Atlas landing site.
it during the escape if you think about it, because I'll be going next to it.
He's going to be doing the third artifact on Alanos backwards. In the section that is generally referred to as like the Piston Caves, which is an area that's like pretty, especially for a casual player, it's really scary because there's a lot of instant death.
Yeah, like you can get crushed between two pistons and just instantly die. And it's very long. Like even if I just tried it like on the go, I would maybe struggle a bit.
So he's going to do it backwards because he doesn't want to deal with that.
Yeah, I failed it on the first try. I don't know really how. The jump backward is really tricky there.
Yeah, he has to get out of the morphball without falling from the tunnel, then jump backwards into it, and then shove himself into the door with missile damage.
And yeah, in this section you shouldn't be able to leave the morphball. So what actually happens if you get into morphball there, you won't be able to get out until you exit the room. Oh.
Alright, so we have the last of the boss fight, of the normal boss fights coming up here. Just make sure you don't forget to grab that missile after.
Yes. I need to get just right next to it after the escape. I actually optimized this escape to pick all the stuff that's left on this planet. And that's why I'm using this version instead of the of PAL, which was preferred back in the day.
So what are some of the other version differences?
There are just two, like there's the first US edition, and all the other are the same, from what I can tell, at least. And the main difference are the first teleporter on Alinos is a bit broken, because you can take it to escape and skip Weevil. But on the other hand, you can just use it later on to come back faster, so I want to be able to use it right now, during this escape. Even though the timer is gone once I open the oubliette. And the other main difference was on Arctera, in that elevator section, with the red targets. Like, it's pretty minor. Like, honestly, I would say there is no point into buying a specific version to run the game. Like, there may be 10 seconds difference, maybe a bit more.
Gotcha. You said that Weevil is one of the more inconsistent
Yes.
bounty
So,
hunters,
like,
though, right?
if I had to run like low percent run, where I had only one E-tank, or 99 HP, I would definitely skip Weevil, because just how dangerous he is and how much damage he can output in a really short period of time.
He's also the most traditional one, because he's actually a space pirate. Samus's classic enemies.
Oh.
Alright, so he's going to be doing... He's on his way to go do a lava maze section.
Later.
Oh, that's a little bit later? Okay.
After the oubliette.
Oh, alright.
So I got really unlucky there. I got two, a Guardian and a Hunter.
Oh, he did not want to stand still.
No, he was keeping going behind me. I had some real troubles to 360 him.
Alright, well, at least that one was more cooperative.
Yeah, and the next one is better even.
Because Guardians always lock the door, right?
Yes, and I really don't like Guardians because they keep jumping everywhere and they move a lot. Like every hunter has a bit different movement patterns. And
Very
the
nice
Guardians is
snipe.
by far the worst one. Yeah, so this one is a scripted encounter. From what I can tell, there's always an encounter here. So,
And by the way, that room that he entered, that kind of weird looking room that he kind of just entered and skipped a cutscene, he was doing that to unlock the final boss. That's where you have to go to return all the octoliths and open the area to fight Gorilla. Now, he's using the boost ball to hyperspeed his way through this lava maze.
yeah, it's some trouble at some point, but it's fine. Yeah, the idea as well is even if there is a hunter, when I get inside the maze and when I exit, oh, I don't know, that doesn't have any problems with that. So yes, even if doors are locked, I can get inside the maze, and even if there is a guardian after I exit the maze, the door will be still unlocked. That's a weird condition. Like if you spawn or teleport into a room where is a guardian or something, the doors won't lock.
Huh.
So I take a bit of advantage and do the maze at this point.
Yeah, that way, no matter what happens, you still get to leave.
Yes.
It's nice.
Okay, so
Alright, so now this is the maze that he skipped a good section of earlier by just clipping through the floor to get the artifact. He does have an item or two to pick up in here, though, I believe. Is it just one?
yes, I left
E-tank?
a tank there. Oops, and I didn't forget the missiles, so it's great.
And he is doing some clips. So that lets you skip from the one end of the maze to the other.
So basically, what happened the first time I got in the maze, I skipped the key to open the small door. Yeah, using that jump through the roof, through the ceiling. And so right now the door is still locked, and because I didn't defeat Weevil, there are still force fields up on the main way outside. So I had to find a clip somewhere there. Ah, I still missed a missile somewhere. Oh, I know, it was on this planet as well. During the escape, I should have picked it first.
On Alanos?
Yes, in that room where there was three guardians.
Are you able to go back and get it?
Well, it does not really matter. I don't know. I can pick it after the final boss.
Wait, what?
I don't know. Does this change something if I pick it later?
I don't. I mean, you're gonna get the credit sequence with the final boss, aren't you?
Yes. I mean, it's not like this run is any world record pace or something.
All right. Well, I guess we'll show off. Sorry about that. We'll show off the
I
last
missed this
location.
like, there's nothing. Like, there's just a orange force field I need to break there.
Yeah. So the thing to keep in mind is that like he doesn't have 100% anyways. So it's not like it would have changed the ending regardless, because he doesn't have all the scans.
And the good ending actually triggers when you fight the second phase of Gorilla.
Which he will still be doing.
Yes. So the only point of doing all the scans is getting a shiny octolyph on your hunter license for multiplayer, like that.
Yeah, so real quick to explain how this first phase goes. If you look, you see all of those little icons surrounding the arena. He has to hit those in a specific order in order to be able to fight the true form of Gorilla, its second phase. So what he's going to be trying to do is there's some downtime in between each phase of Gorilla, and he's going to go and continue to input the correct sequence.
Something weird happened. I still don't know why this happens sometimes. So for whatever reason, sometimes the colored target resets. And I have no idea why.
So do you have to redo the phase then? Redo the boss?
So that kinda messed my boss fight. Because I had to shoot the yellow one again.
Ah, I see.
So yeah.
I mean, hey, at least you realized it.
Yeah, yes.
Rather than having to refight the whole boss.
No, because anyway the targets won't trigger if you don't have the... Like, you can see there's an animation when the target trigger. Maybe I missed it on the first phase, but I kinda doubt it. So yeah, it was kind of not the best fight I could have had. I'll try to finish it on blue. So ideally, I would aim at purple phase for the first damage to the core, then blue, then red. But what happened, I wasted some time shooting targets, and I couldn't deal enough damage during the orange phase to the arms. So I didn't manage to break both arms during the blue phase, and it switched to red, which should be the last phase.
By the way, he is purposely running in to make the boss swing on him, because it's faster than dealing with his ranged attack.
Yeah, and with the right timing, after 2 melee, like two swing attacks, he will switch colors. So that was the point.
You decided to not do the text box skip?
No, because I was gonna end on the wrong color anyway. Like, I'm doing it when I end it on red, because the last color is red usually.
Alright, so Guerrilla Phase 2 it's kind of like some other Metroid final bosses, like the end of Mother Brain in Super Metroid, or the end of like Metroid Prime 1 with the core, where you have to get a special item in order to be able to damage him. That's the Omega Cannon hidden at the bottom of the room.
I controlled the...
Yeah, there's some pretty annoying RNG with where the boss will teleport, and every time that he shoots the boss, if he's too close, he'll take damage. The Omega Cannon is implied to be some kind of like nuclear weapon, and so like it actually does damage to Samus even through her suit if she's too close. The Gorilla's body itself is actually completely invulnerable in this phase. He has to shoot the Seal Sphere in order to deal damage to it. That's what Gorilla has been trapped in this whole time, but he finally made his way out, and now he's using it as like an basis for his energy. Normally he kills the boss up there, but like he said, he got trolled a little bit.
Yes, but I jumped it on it quickly, and it's okay. I sometimes do really start to teleporting all the way around, and you just have to find it. This was okay for the second phase. First phase was missed, so that's unfortunate.
All right, so you can skip the credits, right?
No, I can skip the credits. So in 2 minutes it will be over. Maybe not, maybe less.
Alright, and then we'll show you where that last item is.
F2? It doesn't really matter, like, but I can pick it up.
That's not fair. I mean, that's fair. If you guys want to call it, I know we're already running a little behind, especially because we had to do all that setup stuff.
So yeah, 112. You can see it already. I really wasted a lot of time on Vesper, dying over and over. And a bit at the beginning.
Alright, well, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hunters, like Metroid 2 and I Run It the other night, is another one of those like underrated Metroid games. Doesn't really get talked about a lot. And so I'm really happy to get the chance to show, especially because the run is pretty unique, since the mechanics are a little closer to a traditional first-person shooter, as opposed to the more like unique mechanics of like the Prime games, the main Prime games. I hope you guys enjoyed. We will
Thanks a
catch you
lot.
guys on the flip side.